I think as a woman in my 60s, I was programmed to believe that cholesterol was my enemy, and that fear controlled me for years. My friends would ask, Emma, what did your labs say? Why does it matter? I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours. And I'm thinking, I don't want to compare numbers like we're competing for a prize, but for this conversation to move forward, I guess I had to play along. My LDL is 140. Ooh, that's high. You need to cut out butter. Wait, what's yours? Oh, I got baited. So, as someone navigating life after 60, I thought it was normal to obsess over every cholesterol point. Obviously, when you're younger, you don't have the experience yet to know what truly matters for longevity. Over time, you develop health beliefs based on doctor's advice, magazine headlines, and well-meaning friends, and you start narrowing your diet down to safe foods that check all the boxes. Do you avoid eggs? Do you take statins? Do you cut out red meat? Do you fear butter like it's poison? Do you have anxiety every time lab results come in? It's up to you to figure out what's actually true. But when I was in my early 60s, let's be honest, I was confused. Why did you stop eating eggs? I don't know, cholesterol. Why are you on medication? I don't know, my doctor said so. Before we continue, I want to say this clearly. This video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Cholesterol management is personal, and any changes to your diet, medication, or lifestyle should always be discussed with your healthcare provider. My goal here is to help you better understand your options so you can have informed conversations with your doctor. Why do you seem stressed about food? I don't know. I just want to be healthy. When I was younger, I followed the rules. Low-fat yogurt, margarine instead of butter, skinless chicken. But my mother, she took it even further. She was terrified of cholesterol, not because it was actually harming her, but because the fear had been planted so deeply. I had more time to observe her struggles because we lived together during her final years. She'd check her labs obsessively, restrict her meals to the point of joylessness, and still, the numbers barely moved. One afternoon, I found her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a lab report, tears streaming down her face. Her LDL had gone up by 15 points, just 15, and her doctor suggested doubling her medication. She looked at me and said, Emma, I'm doing everything right. Why isn't it working? That question haunted me. Later, after her passing, I discovered she'd been told the same things I was hearing, and neither of us ever learned the full story. So I started digging. I read studies, I interviewed cardiologists, I spoke to seniors who'd reversed their bad cholesterol naturally, and what I found changed everything I thought I knew. You see, after 60, your body doesn't process cholesterol the same way it did in your 40s. The rules you learned decades ago, they don't fully apply anymore. And here's what most doctors won't tell you in a 15-minute visit. The total cholesterol number isn't the villain you've been taught to fear. What matters now is the ratio between your good and bad cholesterol, the size of your LDL particles, and something called inflammation markers that most standard tests completely ignore. I've spent the last decade educating seniors on heart health, and I've seen thousands reverse their bad cholesterol naturally, not through extreme diets or fear, but through understanding 3 simple biological shifts that happen after 60. But before I explain those shifts, I need to tell you about the fear we were taught and why it's been holding us back. Let me take you back a few years. I was 58 years old, sitting in my doctor's office, holding a lab report that felt like a report card I'd failed. Total cholesterol, 235. LDL, 155. HDL, 50. My doctor slid a prescription pad across the desk. Emma, we need to get these numbers down. I'm starting you on statins." I stared at the paper. "But I walk every morning. I don't eat fast food. I cook at home." "That's great," she said, not unkindly, "but genetics play a role. The medication will help." I took the prescription. I filled it. I swallowed the pill every night for 6 months, and you know what happened? My cholesterol dropped by 20 points. My energy dropped by half. I felt foggy, achy, and exhausted. But hey, the numbers looked better on paper, so I kept going. Meanwhile, my mother was on the same medication, same side effects, same frustration. She'd eliminated butter, cheese, and eggs from her diet. She'd switched to fat-free everything, and still her cholesterol hovered in the high range. One night, over dinner, steamed vegetables and plain chicken breast, because that's what we thought we had to eat, she said something that stuck with me. "I feel like I'm being punished for being alive." I didn't have an answer for her, because I felt the same way. That's when I realized we were both chasing a number we didn't fully understand. We were restricting foods our bodies might actually need. We were living in fear of a substance our own bodies produce naturally. And the worst part? Nobody had ever explained why cholesterol exists in the first place. So I started asking questions. Why does our body make cholesterol if it's so dangerous? Why do some people with high cholesterol live into their 90s without heart attacks? Why do some people with perfect cholesterol still have strokes? The answers I found shook me, because it turns out cholesterol isn't just some villain clogging your arteries, it's a building block. Your body uses it to make hormones, repair cells, and protect your brain. And after 60, your body's relationship with cholesterol changes in 3 specific ways that most doctors don't have time to explain and most standard tests don't even measure. But here's what I later discovered that changed how I see every cholesterol test result. And it starts with something most people never ask about: particle size. You see, not all LDL cholesterol is the same. There are large, fluffy particles and small, dense particles. The small ones, those are the ones that can actually cause problems. But your standard cholesterol test, it doesn't tell you which kind you have. That's like being told you have too many cars on the road without knowing if they're compact sedans or massive trucks. The size matters. The type matters. And that was just the first piece of the puzzle I uncovered. In the next chapter, I'm going to walk you through what cholesterol actually does in your body after 60 and why the number on your lab report might be telling you less than you think. Stay with me, because once you understand this, fear loses its power. After my mother passed, I found a notebook in her bedside drawer. Inside were pages of handwritten notes, cholesterol numbers, dates, foods she'd avoided, medications she'd tried. Years of data, years of fear. But nowhere in that notebook did she ever write down why her body made cholesterol in the first place. So let me tell you what I wish someone had told her, and what I wish I'd known sooner. Cholesterol isn't a toxin. It's not waste. Your liver produces it every single day because your body needs it. It builds the outer layer of every cell in your body. It creates vitamin D when sunlight hits your skin. It produces hormones like estrogen, testosterone, and cortisol. And here's the big one most people don't know. Your brain is made of 25% cholesterol. That's right, 1/4 of your brain depends on it to function. So when we spend years trying to eliminate cholesterol entirely, we're not just lowering a number, we're potentially starving the very systems that keep us sharp, balanced, and alive. But here's where it gets interesting. After 60, 3 specific shifts happen in how your body handles cholesterol, and these shifts change everything about what you should focus on. Shift number 1. Your liver's production changes. When you hit menopause or andropause, your hormone levels drop, and because cholesterol is the raw material your body uses to make those hormones, your liver starts producing more cholesterol to compensate. This isn't a malfunction, it's your body trying to maintain balance. But most doctors see the higher number and immediately prescribe medication without asking why the increase happened in the first place. I saw this with my mother. Her cholesterol spiked right after menopause. Her doctor put her on statins. Her number dropped, but so did her energy, her mood, and her mental clarity. Why? Because her body was trying to produce what it needed and the medication was blocking it. Shift number 2. Your arteries become more vulnerable to inflammation. Here's something nobody talks about. After 60, the lining of your arteries becomes more vulnerable to inflammation, and inflammation, not cholesterol, is what causes the damage. Think of it this way. Cholesterol is like a repair crew your body sends to fix cracks in the arterial walls. But if those walls are constantly inflamed from sugar, processed foods, chronic stress, the repair crew shows up over and over again, and eventually it looks like cholesterol is the problem, when really it's just responding to the inflammation. So the question isn't, how do I lower my cholesterol? The question is, what's causing the inflammation? And this is where most people get it wrong. They cut out eggs and butter, foods that have been eaten for centuries, while continuing to consume processed oils, excess sugar, and ultra-refined grains that spike inflammation like wildfire. I made this mistake for years. I switched to margarine, thinking I was being healthy. Turns out, margarine is loaded with trans fats and inflammatory oils that do far more damage than natural butter ever could. Once I understood this, I stopped fearing food and started asking better questions. But there's one more shift, and this is the one that changes everything about how we think about cholesterol, especially as we age. Shift number 3. Your brain and hormones depend on it more than ever. As you age, your brain's need for cholesterol actually increases. Studies show that seniors with moderately higher cholesterol often have better cognitive function and lower rates of dementia than those with very low cholesterol. Why? Because cholesterol insulates nerve cells, supports memory formation, and protects against brain inflammation. And yet, millions of seniors are put on aggressive cholesterol-lowering drugs without anyone checking what it's doing to their brain health. My mother's foggy thinking, her memory lapses, her depression, I believe the statins played a role. And when I finally took her off them, under a doctor's supervision, she started feeling like herself again. Her cholesterol went up slightly, but her life improved dramatically. So here's the truth. After 60, balance matters more than elimination. You don't need to drive your cholesterol into the ground. You need to understand the type of cholesterol you have, reduce inflammation, and support your body's natural processes. As I move on, I'm going to show you exactly which foods support healthy cholesterol levels, which ones increase inflammation, and the one daily habit that's been shown in studies to improve cholesterol balance in just 6 weeks without a single pill. But first, ask yourself this: have you been fighting cholesterol, or have you been fighting inflammation all along? The answer might surprise you. 3 months after I stopped obsessing over my total cholesterol number and started focusing on inflammation, something unexpected happened. I went in for my annual checkup. My doctor pulled up my labs, paused, and said, "Emma, your HDL went up. Your triglycerides dropped. And look at this, your inflammation markers are the lowest I've seen in years." My total cholesterol? Still around 215. Not perfect by standard guidelines, but my ratios? Those had completely shifted. and I felt better than I had in a decade. So what did I change? Let me walk you through it, because this isn't about deprivation, it's about precision. The foods that actually support healthy cholesterol. First, I brought back the foods I'd been avoiding for years. Eggs, real butter, full-fat yogurt, fatty fish like salmon and sardines. Why? Because these foods contain nutrients that support healthy cholesterol balance. Omega-3s reduce inflammation, choline supports liver function, healthy fats signal your body that it doesn't need to overproduce cholesterol. I also doubled down on fiber-rich vegetables, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, leafy greens, and artichokes. Fiber binds to excess cholesterol in your digestive system and helps your body eliminate it naturally. No drugs needed. I added walnuts and almonds as snacks, not because they lower cholesterol, but because they contain plant sterols that compete with cholesterol for absorption. Think of them as gentle regulators. And olive oil? That became my go-to. Studies consistently show that olive oil supports healthy HDL levels and reduces oxidative stress on your arteries.
But here's the key. I didn't just add good foods. I removed the ones that were quietly sabotaging me. The foods that fuel inflammation. I cut out vegetable oils, canola, soybean, corn oil. These are in everything, packaged snacks, salad dressings, restaurant food, and they're highly inflammatory, especially when heated. I drastically reduced sugar, not because sugar directly raises cholesterol, but because it spikes insulin, which signals your liver to produce more cholesterol and more triglycerides. It's a double hit. And I stopped buying anything labeled low-fat or fat-free. Those products replace natural fats with sugar and chemical fillers. My mother lived on fat-free yogurt for years, thinking she was being healthy, but every serving was loaded with 15+ grams of added sugar. Once I swapped that for full-fat, unsweetened yogurt with berries, her energy stabilized, her cravings disappeared, and her triglycerides, which had been dangerously high, started dropping. The 10-minute daily habit that changes everything. Now here's the habit that made the biggest difference, and it costs nothing. Every evening after dinner, I started taking a 10-minute walk around my neighborhood. Not a power walk, not a workout, just a gentle, consistent movement right after eating. Why does this matter? Because walking after meals helps your muscles absorb glucose from your bloodstream, which prevents insulin spikes. And when insulin stays stable, your liver doesn't get the signal to overproduce cholesterol. Studies have shown that seniors who walk for just 10 minutes after meals show improved cholesterol ratios, lower inflammation markers, and better blood sugar control within 6 weeks. I saw it myself. My fasting glucose dropped, my energy after meals improved, and my next cholesterol panel, my doctor actually smiled.
But here's what I want you to understand. This isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. My mother used to swing between extremes. She'd eat perfectly for 2 weeks, then give up in frustration when the scale didn't move. She'd start walking, then stop because she thought it wasn't intense enough to matter. But small, sustainable changes compound over time. That 10-minute walk, over a year, that's over 60 hours of movement. Those daily servings of vegetables, that's hundreds of pounds of fiber supporting your system. And unlike restrictive diets or aggressive medications, these habits don't come with side effects. They come with energy, clarity, and peace of mind. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one thing from this list. Not 5, not 10, just one. Maybe it's swapping your vegetable oil for olive oil. Maybe it's taking a 10-minute walk tonight after dinner. Maybe it's adding a handful of walnuts to your breakfast. Start there. Build momentum and watch what happens when you stop fighting your body and start supporting it. Up next, I'm going to reveal the final shift, the one that ties everything together. Because once you understand why your body needs cholesterol to protect your brain and maintain independence as you age, everything clicks into place. Stay with me. 6 months before my mother died, she said something I'll never forget. We were sitting on her porch watching the sunset. She turned to me, tears in her eyes, and whispered, "Emma, I don't remember what I had for breakfast. I can't find words sometimes. I feel like I'm losing myself." At the time, I thought it was just aging, natural decline, something we had to accept. But now I know better. Because what I'm about to share with you is the shift that ties everything together, and it's the one thing I wish I'd understood before it was too late for her. Shift number 3. Your brain needs cholesterol to survive. Here's a fact that should be on every prescription bottle, every cholesterol medication insert, every doctor's wall. Your brain contains 25% of all the cholesterol in your body. It's not stored there by accident. Cholesterol insulates your nerve cells, helps them communicate, and protects against inflammation. Without it, your brain can't form memories, process information, or maintain cognitive clarity. And here's the terrifying part. Multiple studies have shown that seniors with very low cholesterol, under 160, have significantly higher rates of memory loss, depression, and cognitive decline. Think about that for a second. We've been told for decades to drive our cholesterol as low as possible. But what if, in doing so, we've been starving the very organ that makes us us? My mother's cholesterol was aggressively lowered with medication. She followed every guideline. She ate fat-free. She avoided eggs, butter, cheese, all the foods her brain needed. And slowly, quietly, she started slipping away. I'm not saying cholesterol medication caused her dementia, but I am saying this. We never asked if lowering her cholesterol was affecting her brain, and that question haunts me. Balance over elimination. After she passed, I made a promise. I would never let fear dictate my health decisions again. I would never treat cholesterol like the enemy without understanding what my body actually needed.
So I stopped trying to eliminate cholesterol. I started supporting balance. I ate foods rich in omega-3s to protect my brain. I prioritized healthy fats to support hormone production. I reduced inflammation through movement, sleep, and stress management. And you know what happened? My energy came back. My focus sharpened. My mood stabilized. I felt like myself again, not the foggy, exhausted version I'd been living as for years. But more importantly, I started teaching other seniors the same principles, and the stories I've heard have been life-changing. One woman, Margaret, 68, came to me with cholesterol over 250 and memory issues that scared her. Her doctor wanted to triple her medication. Instead, we focused on inflammation, brain-healthy fats, and daily walks. 6 months later, her cognitive tests improved, her energy soared, and yes, her cholesterol came down naturally, but more importantly, her ratios shifted into healthy ranges. Another man, Robert, 72, had been on statins for a decade. He couldn't remember his grandkids' names. He felt weak, depressed, hopeless. We worked with his doctor to adjust his medication and focused on nutrition and movement. Within 3 months, he told me, "I feel like I got my life back." These aren't miracles. This is what happens when you stop treating cholesterol like a villain and start understanding what your body actually needs. The truth no one tells you. After 60, your body doesn't need less cholesterol. It needs the right kind of cholesterol, in the right balance, supported by the right lifestyle. It needs you to reduce inflammation, not fat. It needs you to move daily, not punish yourself with extreme exercise.
It needs you to eat real food, not processed substitutes. It needs you to protect your brain, not starve it. And most of all, it needs you to let go of fear. Because when you understand what cholesterol actually does, when you see it as a vital building block instead of a death sentence, everything changes.
You stop avoiding eggs and start enjoying them. You stop panicking over lab numbers and start asking better questions. You stop living in fear and start living with clarity. My final words to you. If you've made it this far, thank you. Truly. I know this isn't what you've been told. I know it might feel overwhelming to unlearn decades of fear, but I also know this. You deserve to feel strong, sharp, and vibrant, not restricted, exhausted, and afraid. Your cholesterol isn't trying to kill you, it's trying to keep you alive. So the next time you get your lab results, don't just look at the total number. Ask about your HDL to LDL ratio. Ask about particle size. Ask about inflammation markers. And if your doctor doesn't have time to explain, find one who does, because your brain, your hormones, and your independence depend on it. Take that 10-minute walk tonight. Add some fatty fish to your meals this week. Swap out those inflammatory oils for real butter or olive oil. Start small, build consistency, and trust that your body knows what it's doing when you give it what it actually needs. Before you go, if this video gave you clarity, helped you see cholesterol differently, or gave you hope that there's another way, please hit that like button. It helps more seniors like you find this information. And if you want more evidence-based guidance on aging with strength, vitality, and confidence, subscribe to Ageless Vitality and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. Because I'm not done yet. There's so much more I want to share with you. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Thank you for being here. And thank you for choosing understanding over fear. Now go take that walk. Your brain will thank you.